Hello everybody, Lucian here. This month marks 1 year since we started the podcast back in January 2024 with our very first episode, which discussed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And we're taking a week off this week from putting out new episodes, and instead we are going to offer you a bit of a selection of some of our best bits of the first year of the podcast across around 51 episodes and a couple of bonus episodes. We've had some really fun standout moments, and maybe some you have heard and some you might have missed. So please enjoy, right here, right now, the best bits of Boy Party Year 1. And we'll be back next week with a brand new episode discussing Steven Soderbergh's Contagion. Thanks so much for listening. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Boy Party.
Welcome to the Boy Party. Everyone's invited.
Everyone's invited.
Bring your own beers or non-alcoholic beverages. You have to leave.
Conditional on the fact that you are a star.
You are a star.
Stars only.
Stars only. And we're out of here in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
No long episodes. So Shane and I obviously just finished our long-running, hugely successful podcast.
Yeah.
Adam and Ben New and Selected, a podcast that was about the films of two big movie stars,
Yeah.
Ben Stiller and Adam Sandler. And it wrapped up with us discussing the one movie where they were sort of sharing. They were starring across from each other, which was the Meyerowitz Stories.
So if you want to hear the real first episode of this podcast, go back to that.
Go back to that, because the idea of Boy Party is, what if we took the premise of that podcast and we applied it to two new stars on every episode? So rather than just comparing Adam Sandler and Ben Stiller's star personas week upon week like we did for the last couple of years, we're going to talk about 2 or 3 or sometimes maybe even 4 big movie stars who shared the screen in one project and how it went. And
hopefully we'll get into more the nitty gritty of making the film rather than the film itself.
Yeah, and
like,
how
we're not
to
here as much to be
just
explain the plot to you.
Explaining the plot, going through the jokes that we liked, those sorts of things. You know, we'll do a bit of that, but we're going to talk about how people ended up in movies together, who got paid more, and how it benefited each of their careers, and who's the bigger star now, and all that sort of thing. It's going to be a movie podcast about comparing movie stars to one another through the movies that they starred in together. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun, so welcome. For our first episode, we decided to pick something with huge stars in it, a film that a lot of people will hopefully have seen and engaged with, and a film that actually directly tackles the ideas of movie stardom, how someone could become second banana to a major movie star.
Yeah.
And that movie is Quentin Tarantino's 2019 film, Once Upon a Time... ... in Hollywood. Sorry, I got it wrong. It's Once Upon a Time in ... Hollywood. And this is a film that I am personally colder on than the majority of cinephiles. I think it is exhausting and indulgent, and I've seen it 3 times, and I've disliked it more every time. We need to get into our Cary Grant, Jimmy Stewart.
Do you want me to do Jimmy Stewart voice? Well, I'm good.
Well, I just don't know what to say.
I say.
We're gonna the folks are gonna switch off straight away. I don't think either of us have ever attempted a Cary Grant voice. I think it's much more difficult to do.
Cary Grant, he talks like this.
He's sort of...
He stays at the Waldorf Astoria.
Yes, I stay at the Waldorf Astoria, darling. No, it's not quite this. It's James Mason, actually. Why am I doing James Mason? I should be doing his North by Northwest co-star, Cary Grant. Well, Jason Isaacs is killing the Cary Grant impression on ITV's original series Archie,
yeah.
which I have not finished. We are here today to discuss Cary Grant, Jimmy Stewart, and Katharine Hepburn in 1949's The Philadelphia
1940s.
Story. What?
1940.
1940s The Philadelphia Story, a George Cukor film written by Donald Ogden Stewart, and the only ever on-screen collaboration between probably the number 1, number 2 great American movie stars, Mr. Grant and Mr. Stewart. I mean, Cary Grant's not really American, but he's an American movie star.
Yes.
A star of American pictures.
He is indeed.
And it's quite a banger for these two men to have appeared in together.
This film was kind of the inspiration when the idea of the pod came around.
For sure. It's very much the...
This was the boy party.
It is the platonic ideal boy party in a sense. I mean, there are a few films that are, but this is a real, like, perfect boy party where our 2 favorite movie stars from the 20th century were instantly together. And, like, something like this doesn't really happen today.
And there's an incredible promo image that we like to look at, where they're like shaking hands while Katharine Hepburn is
in the middle.
Is in the middle,
and it's on our album artwork. It's on our album art right there. They're hiding behind the oar in Party.
Yeah.
It's a great poster and it's a great movie.
Afternoon.
And we'll be discussing a absolute classic of modern American comedy cinema.
Two powerhouses.
Two absolute powerhouses. Two of the most important, not only comedy stars, but black comedy stars of the last 30 or 40 years. And that would be Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy, who star in 2007's Norbit.
Is this their first time working together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Their first and only time working together. I think that it was probably not enough of a success that they would have wanted to keep up this collaboration.
It had its problems.
Eddie Murphy has a very different screen kind of vibe to Eddie Murphy. Like one of these actors is obviously an Oscar nominee, a very well regarded sort of master of dramatic as well as comedic work. Yeah. But then Eddie Murphy, on the other hand, is very much like very silly, very, very goofy, very childish, immature kind of.
I was very surprised by the casting in this. I thought the roles nearly should have been swapped.
Really?
Yeah, I think Eddie doing Rasputia and Eddie doing Norbit was kind of a mistake.
I don't know. I don't know if Eddie has that like feminine energy that Rasputia needs. Like, would Eddie be as convincing as a woman? Like, I don't know.
Hard to know.
See, whereas Eddie looks so good with the hair and the glasses, like I don't know why you would swap them around.
Yeah, he does have that kind of pathetic nature to him that maybe wouldn't come through in a female
keep
character.
In mind now, Eddie Murphy is also in the film playing Mr. Wong.
Oh, Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy, yeah.
Well,
Eddie Murphy is in the film. Eddie Murphy, the famous Chinese actor, Eddie Murphy. The funniest thing about our Eddie Murphy gag about multiple Eddie Murphys is that there is another famous Eddie Murphy, the Operation Transformation judge turned Shannon candidate, Dr. Eddie Murphy, the Irish.
Oh, really?
The Irish psychologist.
Is that their name?
The guy with the glasses on.
Yeah. I've tuned out of Operation Transformation since moving out of my home house.
But he's been on it for 50 years. Because a very weird thing happened where once R.I.P. Eddie Murphy was trending on Twitter.
Yes.
Because people were making jokes, I think, about Eddie Murphy dying.
Yeah.
And my first instinct was
Operation Transformation.
Oh my God, the guy from Operation Transformation, which is a very funny thing to
I know the other two. Who is it? It's the runner guy. Is it Carl or something?
Carl, yeah.
Carl and Dr. Ava.
Dr. Ava has not been on the show in years.
Has she not? Okay.
No. Carl and Eddie are still on it, I
What's
think.
Carl's second name again?
Carl. God, that's a really good question.
Carl.
This is what the people tuned in for. Carl Henry.
Carl Henry.
But we'll begin anyway by talking about how March Madness went down. So we had 32 films in the bracket. Mm-hmm. The way we did this was I got the 16 most popular films by Letterboxd popularity ranking we have a long list of the 300 films that could potentially be on the podcast. Yeah. So I kind of got the 16 most popular films and the 16 least popular films, and we seeded them and put them up against each other in the first round.
Wait, you did the least popular ones?
Yeah, the 16 least popular
films. I thought it was just top 32.
No, why do you think there was so much garbage in it?
Because I thought that's just what our list was like.
No, the whole point of the first round was that it was going to be the top 16 fighting against the bottom 16.
Right.
That was why it was fun, because we had lots of rubbish in there. And here's the most fun thing.
We got some upsets.
We had some upsets.
Yeah.
So we'll run through it.
And then on to our final.
Yeah.
Who could have seen it? The underdog 21 Jump Street.
Yeah.
Narrowly losing.
Yeah.
56-44.
Yeah. So Brokeback was the movie that got the most votes across. So I counted who got the most votes across the entire month.
Okay.
Brokeback got the most votes.
Yeah.
Second place, most votes was Mamma Mia.
Interesting.
Got a lot of votes early on.
Yeah.
More votes than Jump Street.
I guess it jumps out when you're looking through stories.
Yeah.
It's an easy one.
Mamma Mia is number 2, and then Jump Street was number 3, and then Marriage Story 4, La La Land 5, and then number 6 was When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
We'll cover them all this year.
We had no ties, which is interesting.
Not a single tie.
Not a single tie.
Month. Really, actually.
I think we were just consistently getting 9 voters.
Yeah. We never made it to 10.
No.
Some of these had like 12 voters.
Yeah, okay.
All right. And then Brokeback wins.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the month. So we hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And you've gotten what you wanted.
I hope everyone's predictive bracket came true. I don't know if anyone won.
I hope everyone's gambling worked out.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're here now to discuss Brokeback Mountain. What's the name of the character?
Liam Hennessy.
Liam Hennessy. We can call him Liam for the rest of the episode.
Liam.
So Liam, a character that is definitely not inspired by Jerry Adams. Not at all. the film is very keen to state that the characters in this are fictitious.
Yes, I think it is kind of a mix of Martin McGuinness and
Well, sure, but
Jerry Adams.
Physically,
Physically, it's
styled perfectly
Yeah.
off of Jerry Adams.
gray beard, gray hair,
Glasses, beard. Yeah, it is. And also, Martin McGuinness had already died by the time this film came out.
Yeah.
So, he is a Sinn Féin leader in Northern Ireland. He's a former IRA guy. Now, I think within the film, we are supposed, like, the world, Liam Hennessy is honest about being a member of the IRA. I think that's like a very open fact rather than being a sort of an open secret.
Is it?
Which it is in Jerry Adams' case. I think so. I think
feel like
because Jackie Chan confronts him and says, "You're in the IRA" or whatever, and he's like, "I was, but I'm not anymore." Like he doesn't seem to be pretending the way that maybe a real life person does pretend.
I'm a big fan. What was my rating? 4?
Okay.
4 stars.
Sure.
I find it very charming.
Yeah.
And I think they're very well matched.
Yeah.
It's not oozing with sexual chemistry.
No, it's not.
But I
He's a
don't.
dad,
yeah,
like.
but I don't think it has to, and I think that's actually quite suitable because she's pent up in the palace or whichever palace she's in because she's on her tour.
Yeah.
And it's her first foray out into a cosmopolitan city, so I feel for her to meet someone like Gregory Peck with his, I don't know.
Teacherly energy.
Yes, but not in a creepy way. Just in a very sincere sort of caregiver, handsome way.
Well, there's that, but he's also like trying to exploit her at the same time. Like he's also kind of more obsessed with getting his job and getting his interview than he is with really taking care of her. For the beginning,
It
anyway.
has the typical romantic comedy mismatched pair thing where one of them needs something from the other person.
Yeah. There's a lie being told. There's a bit of exploitation.
There's a bit of exploitation, but like it is, as always, it is kind of harmless exploitation, but it will ultimately cause a trust issue.
Yeah, I will say upon rewatching it, forgot how unsettling it is to watch her. As we said, she's asleep for half the time.
Yeah.
But to be brought up to the apartment, to be put in the pajamas, put in the bed, I think the physicality is great. But I was sitting there being like, "Oh goodness,
no,
this is
the situations are creepy." It is a testament to Gregory Peck's vibes that it doesn't feel creepier. Like,
well, in terms of who is the real star of this movie, we have got a special consultant here who we are going to hear from, and that is your mother, who has provided us with her thoughts, which we will listen to right now.
You want to know who is the star of The Towering Inferno? In my opinion, it's Steve McQueen, because he is uniformed and handsome and takes charge and, of course, puts out the fire. And we're not sidetracked by any love story or backstory about his life outside the moments that he is there at the fire. And he delivers the final words, doesn't he? Saying that architects should speak to him or to other firemen before they build. And in general, I think he looks good. He acts well. He's a real heroic figure. He's daring, dashing, and dapper. And he is, in my opinion, the star of the film. Mind you, I suppose you could say the star of the film is the special effects, which even for the 1970s were very good. And I think they stand the test of time. So that's my opinion. Not Paul Newman, not Faye Dunaway, not Fred Astaire, not Jennifer Jones, Steve McQueen. Okay, God bless.
In the favorite situation, what role do you see yourself be fitting into most easily?
I honestly think Rachel Weisz's character, I feel like I'm not a scheming type lady. I don't have the manipulation gene as much as I wish I did. I don't know. I don't have the Emma Stone. I couldn't step on a rabbit. I don't think I could. Oh, goodness.
I couldn't step on a rabbit, but
That's me anyway.
I think I'd be able to. I'm able to manipulate Shane into sitting down and watching films like The Favorite that he doesn't want to watch every week. So I feel like I have some skill there.
I mean, you call it manipulation, but also you're selling sitting down on the couch for 2 hours and doing nothing, which is a very, very easy sell.
It's not that different.
Well, and watching English
Yeah.
like court drama, which is, I think that's more challenging than nothing.
True. Shane didn't really vibe with this film as much as, you know, he could have. I'm not its number one fan in the world either, but I think you were struggling a little bit with the pacing of it.
Was I jet lagged?
No. This was like less than a week ago.
Yeah, it was less than a week ago. My sense of time is all over the place.
You can't claim jet lag for that long.
You'd be surprised. If I never sleep properly since getting off the plane, then I can.
Yeah, true.
Jet lag in perpetuity. Yeah, I think I was just tired and never fully got into the swing of things, and it just seemed to be kind of. I seem to be hypersensitive to the Yorgos bullshit of just like his type of humor that I was like, all right.
No, I'm with you there. I actually haven't been able to like fully stomach a Yorgos movie since this one. I think when this movie came out, I was like its number one fan. Lucian can attest. But I don't know. I still think it's my favorite Lanthimos, but I think the things I like it for are not the Lanthimos elements. It's more the cinematography, I don't know. I think that his female characters in this movie are operating in a way that is unusual for him.
This film is one of a small list of films that you can that you were at one point able to study for the Leaving Cert in Ireland, which is, for our foreign listeners, the final big exams you do in school. You spend 2 years preparing, and in your English exam, there is a big essay question you have to answer called the comparative question, and it makes you compare a book, a play, and a film. Why does it do this? I don't know. So I guess all things considered, you could do worse than The King's Speech.
Yeah.
So what did you get in English in your Leaving Cert?
I got an A2.
A2?
I got an A2.
A1?
I exceeded expectations.
That is good.
My English teacher, I never got an A in English in my 6 years in school.
Oh, yeah?
And at one point, I asked my English teacher, "Why are you making B's all the time?
Yeah.
I'm not really doing nothing wrong here." And he was just like, "You just don't have it, kid." Is pretty much
What a rude man.
and you know what?
Shane, I'll tell you now. I think if you watch The King's Speech through the eyes of the Queen, you maybe would have an idea.
Is that a good impression of him? I don't think so.
No, I think basically is I was good at reciting facts and notes, but I didn't write in a very particularly engaging way, which is where he was knocking my marks down because he was bored shit by me.
Yes, but he's a certain type of person.
He's a certain type of person, but I'm also...
You might have gotten A's in my class with my teacher.
I didn't cop that at the time, where I was like, I'm doing exactly what you're telling me to do. Why is this not getting me everything?
I don't...
And I guess I just...
Your English teacher liked me. He never taught me, but he liked me.
Okay.
Because he knew that I read outside of school and was into film and stuff.
Whereas
he never got that sense from you.
No,
and
he
I
didn't.
think he wouldn't be charmed by you in the classroom.
No,
but if he got to know you outside of the classroom, he probably would be. It's unfortunate.
He was correct to not give me A's in English. I didn't deserve them.
Well, look, anyone who does a podcast now where they analyze films once a week probably got an A in English, right? Apart from Redacted.
You gotta cut the shit out of What the fuck are you? You fucking need a Diego Maradona.
Bro did Diego Maradona for his Leaving Cert. He compared it to the Where's Wally book. I'd love to write about Where's Wally in my comparative. In small things like these, the character has to find the Magdalene Lodge. He's a small thing. He's a small thing in a big crowd of people. I'm just gonna bleep out. I'm just gonna bleep out. What are you gonna say? Where is the king's voice? Can we find it? Go listen to the Where's Wally audiobook. I've never seen Shane laugh at anything this much. It's all I gotta do is insult people he doesn't like. Sobbing. He's sobbing. He's so moved by the king's speech. Anyway. I think this film, most positive thing I can say about it is that it is packaged in this very accessible Lighthouse Cinema, A24 Oscar season package for the sort of 18 to 30-year-old cinephile juniors to engage with.
Yeah.
But it does present imagery and ideas that are going to point them in the right direction of great cinema and international cinema in a way that a lot of those films don't really. And especially if Eggers is somebody who's very honest and open about his influences, I think that makes a huge difference.
There's actually a great, so the A24 podcast has become just a little bit, let me advertise my movie,
of course.
But there's a great podcast of him and Ari Aster talking about how Ingmar Bergman has influenced their films, and they go so in depth that the A24 podcast released like an extended cut,
very nice.
and I used to listen to that on a loop on my pandemic walk.
Very good.
I'd recommend anyone check that out.
From the sort of dramatic side of it, because I'm not as accustomed with theater as you would be. I know that there's like Samuel Beckett that he pulls from here. Is there other theatrical stuff in the sense it's a two-hander in one location? For
the big one I think is probably Harold Pinter, which doesn't necessarily come down to it being a two-hander, but in terms of like Harold Pinter plays kind of exist in this very absurdist world. But it's all about power. Every scene is just who's winning the scene. But the rules of engagement for how you're winning a scene and how you're winning a conversation are very strange, and this film like has that,
because a lot of it descends into sea shanty language, and also the technicalities of running a lighthouse.
But also just like are you gonna upshow Willem Dafoe when he tells you dance Winslow? And it's like that's what winning looks like. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? The Beckett stuff is almost more. It's the imagery. It's the Pottswin looking thing from Waiting for Godot when he's got him on a rope and he's walking around him like a dog. But I think actually that on that podcast, he cites The Servant, which is very like The Lighthouse.
Yes,
it's like
I do like The Servant.
Upper class English guy and his working class
butler,
servant butler.
I would say there's a case to be made that in this movie you could have probably submitted Julianne for lead and Tilda for supporting. I think that the film takes place through Julianne's perspective, and she's probably in just like slightly more scenes, just by virtue of she goes off and does stuff on her own with John Turturro while Tilda Swinton is at home. But then Tilda Swinton is probably, maybe because of her playing the second character, maybe she does actually have more presence in the movie. I don't know.
I mean, this is a classic boy party. You know, both of their names do appear on the screen at the same time.
Yeah, and then at the end, so at the start, it's Tilda Swinton, Julianne Moore at the same time, but Tilda comes first, which is interesting because that's not alphabetically correct, and they're both Oscar winners. Tilda's is a supporting Oscar. Julianne's is a lead Oscar. I don't know by what metric you decide that Tilda is the bigger name in this movie, but sure. And then at the end of the movie, they come up as Tilda Swinton, ampersand, Julianne Moore, which is a funny one. You never see actors with an ampersand. The poster's great. It's got the faces like lying facing upwards, which I really like. And then just an absolute clusterfuck of text. Big serif font. Really nice. But yeah, I think it's being marketed well as like both of them. And no one's like, oh, the new Tilda Swinton movie's out. I think it's a nice like 2 stars. And as I said to Shane, the last time, and like the only time in the last 5 years I can think of a movie with 2 actresses over 60, a big film, where the premise isn't based on like old ladies looking for romance, was Nyad with Annette Bening and Jodie Foster, the swimming movie. Because otherwise, this never happens. Nobody makes films about women of this generation just living their lives, and it's unfortunate. So Almodovar is needed to do this, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad he made the film, but he's already talked about in interviews how his next film is going to be in Spanish. Personally, I'm kind of happy about that because while I really enjoyed this, I don't want him to do like just a huge pivot now to American films. And I don't think he would be that successful doing that anyway. And even here in Spain, I do think compared to other films, I think this received a little bit less fanfare just because it is in English. So it's like, this is a really weird spot because it's like Almodovar obviously is a very well-known film director, but I feel like the people who would like his films who speak English are going to like them anyway if they're in Spanish. And then the Spanish people who want to go watch his films want to watch a film in Spanish. They don't really have much interest in watching an Americanized version of it, I guess.
Not spoil any of it.
Not spoil any of it, but maybe one of our actors we're talking about this week just won his first Oscar. Maybe he didn't. This episode will be really funny if he doesn't win.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Because it's a Cillian Murphy party this week on the show.
Yeah.
2 of Ireland's greatest acting exports in one of the biggest budget Irish films ever made.
a weird kind of half classic Irish film, Intermission. I'm Lucian. I'm joined as always by my co-host Shane.
Good afternoon.
And we are joined this week by special guest Christina.
How are you now?
And this is Christina's first appearance on Boy Party, because we're talking about your favorite film of all time, Intermission.
Yes, my favorite film of all time.
With your two favorite actors, Cillian Murphy and Colin Farrell.
Yes, my favorite buddies of all time.
And these are, this is the only time that Cillian and Colin have ever appeared in a feature film together that I'm aware of, which is kind of bizarre given that they're more or less the same age and kind of exist on parallel career paths in Irish film. But...
They do, but they're not people in my head who I associate as being in the same circles of...
No.
They're not. Like, I don't know. Cillian's just like so not a goofy guy.
He's very Cork as well.
It's the classic Dublin Cork man.
It is.
Yeah,
problem.
It really is.
There's a bit of a Micheál Martin, Leo Varadkar thing going on with them. Or a sort of a, I don't know, even nowadays when you have Alison Oliver becoming so big and she's very Cork. And I feel like you can draw a quite clear distinctions between her and some of her Dublin counterparts. They're, I don't know, is Jessie Buckley from Dublin? She's certainly not from Cork anyway.
I have no idea.
People who are more, pale-y.
Yeah.